This is the latest instalment of the International Force Rape Timeline, episode 56 if you want to call it that, Hangout 56. I've titled it News and Views and Anonymity. A lot of ground to cover. I may have to split it up into 2 or 3 sections. That is recording it because I've had health problems ongoing over the past, well, ongoing, but a lot of ground to cover. The anonymity concerns 2 cases in particular. They're not allegations of rape, but they're quite bad. There was Craig Murray, who is currently serving a prison sentence for reporting on the false allegations against Alex Salmond, a man who was the victim of a grubby little conspiracy north of the border. And the other case concerns a falsely accused woman, Lady Lavinia Nourse. This was a case that flew under the radar, for me certainly. She is the widow of Sir Martin Nourse, who died on November 28th, 2017. He was a High Court judge, though he dealt only with chancery cases and nothing really controversial, not criminal cases. In later the same year, some nutter came forward and accused her of sexually abusing him repeatedly in the 1980s when he was 12 years old. And the police and those other imbeciles, the Crown Prosecution Service, or Clown Prosecution Service, or Crown Persecution Service if you wish, they're like easy targets, and she ended up facing trial on 17 counts, 17 charges, and she was acquitted on every single one. There's an interview with her for BBC Women's Hour. Women's Hour? I think it's Women's Hour. I found it on the BBC website after it was drawn to my attention by another article. I was unable to download it, although I found a shorter version on the Daily Mail website, which I'll add, if not to this video, then to the timeline. But she took it very badly. The other case I mentioned was Craig Murray, who's a bit of a character. Murray, on his blog craigmurray.org.uk, entry for August the 1st. I want to make 1 or 2 points for you to ponder while I am in jail. This is the last post until about Christmas. We are not legally able to post anything while I am imprisoned, but the Justice for Craig Murray website, but the Justice for Craig Murray campaign website is now up and running, and we'll start to have more content shortly. It's absolutely outrageous, this. Absolutely outrageous. This is a guy who makes waves and is renowned for making waves. Lady Nourse said she wanted anonymity for the accused as well as for complainants, or complainers as they call them in Scotland. Absolutely outrageous. Well, the other big case I should mention, because it's ongoing, is again isn't a rape case. It's Andrew Cuomo of the governor of New York, who's, I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. This, I mean, I hate being put in this position, but I've had to defend in one of these hangouts Harriet Harman for smears on her, and now I'm going to have to defend one of the most corrupt politicians alive. Cuomo, he's stupidity or maybe his willfulness has led to thousands upon thousands of people dying prematurely in nursing homes, in New York nursing homes, because of his treatment of his mishandling of the COVID business. And they've had this report they published on him, on these allegations against him of sexual harassment by women and groping. It's a bit like the FBI saying to Ted Bundy, we're going to drop all these serial murder cases and we're going to charge you with stealing a car. But the allegations against Cuomo are absolutely absurd. One of his main accusers is a young woman named Charlotte Bennett, and it was just basically dirty talk or inappropriate talk. She's working in his office, and she's a survivor of sexual assault. Young woman. I've done a bit of searching. I'm unable to find any record of any mention of a trial, so I would assume that. Well, I don't like to assume anything, but it appears to be she's just one of these airheads who claims to have been raped at some point, probably when she was a student. She told Cuomo that she's documented this very thoroughly. I was the sort of thing you tell your boss, isn't it? Oh, by the way, I was wrong, but I'm a survivor of sexual assault. She documented very thoroughly what she says were his responses. It was written, it came on to her. Now, my advice to you, as usual, is if a woman tells you she was raped, ask her what sentence her rapist got. If she says he wasn't convicted or the state didn't proceed with the case, run a mile. If she says, I didn't report it, run 2 miles. And if she claims to have been sexually abused when she was a child, run and keep running. Cuomo has posted what he calls a rebuttal of these allegations, and I'll post a bit of it here, only a bit of it. To me, I find it quite compelling, because I mean it's, you know, kissing a woman on the forehead and stuff. None of these women appear to have complained at the time. Maybe one of them did, but they didn't complain at the time. None of, I mean, these women are utterly pathetic. Utterly pathetic. If he'd tried something like that, what is claimed on Posey Parker, all 5'1" of her, Kelly would have, she'd have slapped his face or kicked him where it hurts. But these women, no, they one of them appeared on TV with her attorney, Gloria Allred. Absolutely pathetic.
That is not front page news. I've been making the same gesture in public all my life. I actually learned it from my mother and from my father. It is meant to convey warmth, nothing more. Indeed, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of photos of me using the exact same gesture. I do it with everyone, black and white, young and old, straight and LGBTQ, powerful people, friends, strangers, people who I meet on the street. After the event, the woman told the press that she took offense at the gesture. And for that, I apologize. Another woman stated, that I kissed her on the forehead at our Christmas party and that I said, "Ciao, Bella." Now, I don't remember doing it, but I'm sure that I did. I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do embrace people. I do hug people, men and women. I do on occasion say, "Ciao, Bella." On occasion, I do slip and say sweetheart or darling or honey. I do banter with people. I do tell jokes, some better than others.
I found another case here. Another faux accuser, Ayanna Pressley, that odious woman, one member of the so-called squad. A video of her claiming to have been a survivor of sexual assault from about 10 years ago. There's the version I found, or some comment I found, said that she didn't say if she'd reported it or not. Well, if she didn't report it, it didn't happen. And I'm sorry, but I think any man who tried to rape Ayanna Pressley would find her more than a handful. She'd have had, well, he'd have had bruises, no doubt about that, but she'd have had bruises, and because she'd have fought mightily and she'd have gone to the police afterwards. So I don't believe any of this garbage. They're pathetic women. Cuba Gooding Junior could find himself in a bit of trouble because here's a report from Reuters. In fact, I'm sure I covered this before. Some stupid woman. But there was an incident in a club that was videoed, or public house, whatever they call it in America. A woman claimed he grabbed her breast, so it was a pathetic thing. And then loads of other women come forward. Some woman, Jane Doe, sued him for rape, and he raped her twice in a Manhattan hotel room in 2013. She hated it so much she went back for more. And rather foolishly, he didn't bother to defend the case. So she's got a default judgment against him. I don't know what happened here, but he seems to have been ill-advised. Ill-advised by, unless it's something we don't know, like perhaps if this woman was in a loony bin at the time she claims it happened. Pathetic, utterly pathetic. Something which I do find rather annoying. RAINN, the so-called rape and incest, rape, abuse, incest national network. I think that's the acronym. Yeah, rape, abuse and incest national network. Somebody has started a shirt, Justice for Stacey, a t-shirt, Justice for Stacey Stites, Rodney Reed is guilty. And this fundraiser is to raise awareness for the victims of Rodney Reed. All proceeds will go to RAINN to support other victims of rape and abuse. $160 raised so far. That's $160 too much. Stacey Stites. This is a very sad case. She was raped and murdered by a serial rapist, a lowlife, Rodney Reed, in 1996, and this scum is still on death row. And there's been a massive campaign, absolutely outrageous, the lies that have been told on his behalf, partly because they're actually trying to pin the murder on her fiance. It was a police officer, Jimmy Fennell, who 10 years later, I think it was 10 years later, he raped a woman, a drunken woman, and he got a 10-year sentence for it, so 9.5. She said the thing he got off lightly. Well, no, sorry love, 9.5 years behind bars on a rape charge, and for a police officer, that's punishment. Punishment enough for most rapes. And they're trying to claim that Fennell murdered her, and he was actually the first suspect, but if you look at the evidence, there's absolutely no way he could have done it, or would have done it, would have killed. I mean, my personal view is that the guy went off the rails a bit. This happens to some women as well as men with bereavement. The classic case is the father of Sarah Payne, Michael Payne. Sarah Payne was an 8-year-old girl who was murdered in 2000 by a paedophile named Roy Whiting, and her mother Sarah went on to campaign. She got letters after her name now, but her father took it very badly, blamed himself, couldn't protect his daughter, and he was doing all sorts of stupid things like minor acts of criminal damage. At one point he glassed his own brother in a pub and did about an 18-month sentence. And in September 2014 he was found dead in his armchair. It took him 14 years, but eventually drank himself to death. Slow motion suicide. So I think men do go off the rails at times. I'm not excusing or mitigating anything that Fennell did, but this guy really, he's raped other women as well. He raped a 12-year-old girl. His brother, who's apparently a veteran, lied blatantly for him. Said this girl came forward, approached him, and said that years later, and said that it wasn't actually Rodney raped, it was somebody else. I mean, the evidence against this case is overwhelming, but what I find really disgusting is that the Innocence Project, how any Innocence Project would take on a case like this, I don't know. I mean, I thought Clive Stafford Smith was bad, but these people. And RAINN, these are pathetic women. They're like rape crisis. They encourage false allegations. A lot of these allegations of incest, probably the vast majority of them, are confabulations. I've covered this in a previous hangout. Young women, and sometimes not so young women, they'll watch a TV drama about rape or abuse or something, and it'll trigger something, and they'll remember being abused by their own fathers, and these are totally fake memories. The most shocking case of that you'll find on the timeline involving real rape and real attempted murder was Diana Green, who was the victim of a serial killer named the Bedroom Basher. Check her out, she's on the timeline, and terrible suffering she and her husband went through. Over confabulation, the memories that came back to her after she was, he battered her nearly to death. She's heavily pregnant, she lost a baby, and what happened was she regressed, and when she started remembering again, she remembered her husband trying to kill her, which was totally wrong. And this is what happens with these, almost all of these incest cases, and they must know it, they can't be stupid, and they keep pushing this idea that women are being raped and abused all over the place and not reporting it, and it really is. These people are sick. They really are sick. On a similar subject, Bettina Arndt is making waves again. If you haven't heard of her, she's an incredible woman, Australian, and she's just done an interview with Evelyn Ray. I'll put a bit of it on the timeline. Evelyn Ray she's a former Australian police officer, and she she'd handled rape cases at one point. She said that during her time, she spent 12 years with the police. She saw only three genuine rapes, lots of false ones, and others which were, she said, he said, or, she accuses, he denies. She gives an example of one of them, a woman who made a gratuitously false claim because her boyfriend refused to get back with her. I mean, just and the full video runs to 47 minutes 48 seconds, and it's a lot of it is about domestic abuse, false allegations of domestic abuse, and truthful ones, but she covers allegations of false allegations of rape. She's only seen 3 cases, and one of them was particularly bad, but they are, because genuine rape cases, women fight back, young girls fight back, and this generates physical evidence. They get bruised, so their attackers get bruised. Sometimes their attackers get the worst of it, and you find that a lot of these cases, these blokes actually plead guilty. Sometimes in the United States they'll plead guilty to a reduced charge, but this whole feminist indoctrination is it's absolutely outrageous. There's another one here. The provability gap. How one survivor was re-traumatised after reporting a rape. Marina Garrett is one of 8 women who filed a class action lawsuit against the City of Austin and Travis County, claiming that their cases were inadequately handled because of gender discrimination. Part 1 in a 4-part series on why sexual assault cases are so hard to prosecute in Austin. This appears to be genuine. She was 19 years old. She was on her way home, and she was offered some cocaine. She went down an alleyway with a guy and claimed he raped her, which her memories from the attack are scattered, but she said she tried to call people for help. Yeah, I tend to believe this woman, but I don't want to sound like a victim blaming, but don't buy cocaine. Don't use cocaine to start with, that's a dentist. And don't buy drugs from men you don't know. When people are involved in illegal activity, I don't know. But the police ultimately found Garrett's attacker. He said the sex had been consensual and agreed to a DNA test. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect? Here's another case from UK local press from last year. The investigation into rape of an 11-year-old girl in Holmer Green is shelved by police. This is a report from November. On June the 1st, 2019, a girl, an 11-year-old girl, was said to have been raped, and the police have shelved the investigation. Now, my understanding is that the police in this country do not shelve investigations they wouldn't have shelved a rape attack on a rape of an 11-year-old girl. I'm gonna this is Amersham, so I'm going to I'll probably drop the police a line, the press office a line at some point, and ask if there's any forensic evidence. It probably won't get much of an answer, because in this country the police release very little of. If you look at the stuff that released by in the United States, there's reams and reams of stuff, but In Britain it's very different, as Craig Murray found out.